Yep. Yep. And then, I had to worry about Mike trying to steal my wallet because, he is Nigerian. Oh, welcome back, ladies and
Wow,
gentlemen,
that's
to
crazy.
another recap review of the hit HBO show, It Welcome to Derry, brought to you by the
I'm not
Power.
doing this.
Oh, I was about to say the Power Group. Brought to you by the Culture Collective Feud by Powered by Big Gold Belt Media. You got Lucas here with my two very talented co-hosts.
Mm,
First, I will start with
the Culture Collective.
I said the Culture Collective.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I said the Culture
Uh,
Collective Feud by Powered by Big Gold Belt
I don't know.
Media,
Big
as I
Bell was
always
just
say.
so loud, because you were so dramatic. I missed it. Do it
Oh,
again. I'm joking.
oh,
Nah, go ahead.
see, that is one of my very talented co-hosts. If you did not know, it is Miss Reasonable Doubt herself, the one who set up Ozzy. And you'll find that out in the season finale. Miss Amaya Desire. What is going on this evening?
I'm ready for the season finale, but more so, I'm ready for this. And ooh, thank goodness for not traumatizing me this episode. I'm happy about that.
And my other beautiful co-host. See, I said that. Throw him off a little bit. If you watch WWE, we have now nicknamed him the Nigerian Nightmare, Mike.
What?
What's going on this evening, sir?
Doing good. I was right. I'm telling you, the real horror story ain't no demons and aliens, stealing some children. It's black men sleeping with white women, not trying to get caught. That's the horror. I told
This
y'all.
is
You
I
he,
sure
told
about
y'all.
that? You sure about that? Because I mean, the other horror story is this little white girl who just keeps on going around killing people.
No,
And
that
because
people
too.
keep
clearly
on
They're dangerous,
thinking,
but yes,
thinking it's Pennywise. She got all y'all food. This is it. Welcome to Karen. This has nothing to do
yikes,
with
oh,
Pennywise.
yikes.
But
welcome
let's
to
start off this episode 4. And this one starts off with the kids being super excited as they all rush to the police station to show the police the photos they took place to prove that there are ghosts, goblins, and goblins chasing them and to show the appearance of this supposed clown. But when they turn the pictures over to the police, nothing is shown on the pictures. So I'm gonna start with you first, Mike. What did you just think about the moment that they show the police the pictures that all their evidence is now magically gone?
hmm No, I thought that was given. Again, I think it's just we're following the footsteps of these children, and again, it's the same thing. You're just trying to make decisions that kids would have done, right? Not think things
Mm-hmm.
through. Um, I remember was it chapter 1 when I think her name's Beth. She uh had an incident that happened in the bathroom while the
Mm-hmm.
blood spattering. Dad showed up and she's covering blood. So Dad, you look what's going on, and the dad couldn't see what's going on. And then the kids came
Mm-hmm.
over and they saw the whole place covered in blood, and they helped clean it up and everything. So it's like, yeah, this is tied to children. But then yet it's not when we find out that someone who has the eye or see these things not only exclusive to children. It just you have
Mm-hmm.
the intuition.
Well, it goes
um,
it goes the other way from it chapter 2 when the adults could clearly see what was going on because all the kids are
yes.
grown up and they can still see everything. So I guess they'll talk about the trigger that later on they can bring adults into seeing it. But here, with the kids seeing it, what do you think about that? The only picture that was shown was a Pennywise. Like that's the only one that was still there out of all the ghosts and everything being gone.
It's a watermark that you want to say. It's a
Wow, a
uh,
Pennywise watermark. Is
yeah,
that
he's
is that what we're
copyrighting
gonna
that.
call it?
Yes. You're gonna use
Mm-mm-mm.
my face, you're gonna pay me in royalties.
Wow, wow. Well, let me.
Right,
I
exactly.
don't have any money to be paying
WB
anyone
getting out
for royalties.
residuals.
What am I? What did you think about not just pictures being shown, but the cops' reaction to the pictures? Because
I
it clearly
mean,
feels like they know a lot more than what they're willing to tell these kids by him saying, "You all need to stay out of the business that's not has nothing to do with you."
well, I didn't think that he knew more. I just thought that, like Mike was saying, as adults, they can't see it unless they're really tuned in. But also, I just thought when we left off of episode 3, Or maybe we were just thinking, because I'm like, why are they going to the cops? I thought they were going to his dad, you know, and I think that was something we were trying to figure out who they were going to go to. But I'm like, bro, first of all, I would not, what's her name? I can't, Little Killer, right? I'm going to just call her that for
Lily?
right now.
Lily?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, Little Killer fits her, her name Lily.
Wow.
I just feel like after her experience with the police officer, knowing that he tricked her, knowing that, like, you know, he's willing to go to these lengths. Even as a kid, you can feel something is wrong. And for her to go back to the police, it's like, what? So I was very surprised at that choice. And also was just like, what's going to happen for them now that the cops are, you know, basically onto them. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many colored kids running around here causing problems, so them cops not gonna deal with that too much. But next, we get the kids as they're all back at school again, and they're trying to figure out exactly what's going on with the pictures. And this is here where William, who is the smart one here, says, "I need to do more research to find out what's going on here." We know that Ronnie is terrified because her dad is going to Shawshank, and anyone who goes to Shawshank never returns from Shawshank, even though we know that's a lie because Andy fully escaped from Shawshank. So I don't know what Ronnie is talking about here. You can easily get out of Shawshank. But here is just her fear, and this is where Lily comes up with the plan to meet with an adult that will tell them the truth. And an adult is the nurse from Juniper Hill, I'm sorry, who she befriended in a past episode. And here she basically tells her, you need to keep on pursuing this. If you believe this is what's happening here, don't let any adult change your mind. So Maya, just what did you think about that conversation between Lily and the nurse now becoming the only trusted adult that they could depend on here?
I don't know. I'm not, something about it feels off to me. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something feels off because she's the only one encouraging them. Not saying that it's not saying that she doesn't need the encouragement, right? But something just feels out of place for me, and I don't know what that thing is. And while I want Lily to feel like she has somebody to talk to and confide in, that's not a kid, I'm just wondering what's the end game with this nurse, and like how does she fit into all of this? So that's my only thing. I think that right now she's just in such a tough spot with trying to figure things out and not being labeled crazy in the process. Is like, girl, you just, things are not, you know, it's definitely hard for sure. And I'm just wondering, as time goes by, you know, will she start to believe that she actually is crazy, or is she in a good enough space that her friends will remind her, like, it's not just you?
Yeah, I think that's the key part here, is that this is a nurse who's trying to reassure her. Like, maybe these aren't all just in your head. Maybe this is really happening here. And maybe people are trying to persuade you to think otherwise just because of your past. So I think the nurse is trying to become a safe haven for Lily in a way where they can actually have real dialogue and real conversations. Kind of what a therapist would do with her. So maybe you're not crazy. Maybe we need to talk this out. And just the way she reassures Lily here in this scene, I think that's the most important part of the scene. But next up, we get Rose as she stops by to drop stuff off that Charlotte picked up from her shop. The best part of this scene is the conversation that they have. First, Rose brings up about the digging, and Charlotte says, I don't think he has anything to do with that. But even if he did, he would never tell me, because everything with him and his job has to remain a secret. So, Mike, I'm gonna ask you, what did you think about this back and forth here between Charlotte and Rose, as they're not only just talking about Leroy, they're talking about the dig site, and then Rose brings up the movie theater incident, and we can see the activists in Charlotte rise to occasion the moment is brought up.
I think this is a common case of, you know, the people of color, but more specifically women of color, you know, having each other's backs and being in a group in a society where, you know, they're not they're overlooked nor believed when they're bringing, you know, situations or concerns. And also, again, just with women where like she's I believe she has children as well. But both of them are mothers as well, and basically care about their family and their loved ones. So it's coming from a sense of, hey, if you need anything, I've been in this town all my life, and you are coming from, from a different environment, but yet I still see that fighting spirit that I know from my family and my culture, and that's where also coming from indigenous people and also African Americans too. There is some similarity just in terms of of oppression, and but also protecting your family and loved ones against discrimination, against oppression, everything like that, or the powers may be. And in this case, this power is supernatural, but again, it's a lingering thing, and she just lending a helping hand and just saying, need anything, give me a call, and she'll probably call that number very, very soon. But yeah, and but I think it's also to her is like, as a wife, just having the intuition. It's like there's a lot of things you really can't. I'm married. It's like you can't hide from black women. You just can't. They have intuition.
Well, I'm gonna challenge you on two quick things here.
Yes.
First, I'm gonna challenge you on: do you think Rose was doing that to be helpful with Charlotte, or do you think she was asking those questions to try to get more information about exactly what the general is digging up? Because then we got to remember, she knows the army is there to look for something.
Yes.
I believe she believes she knows exactly what the general is looking for. And she's now I believe she's trying to pick Charlotte's brain to see if Leroy has told her anything about his work. That way she knows exactly what they're looking for. I'll ask that question first, and then the follow-up will be, and it's kind of in reverse of the same thing. Do you think that Charlotte is kind of reaching for a purpose here? Because she kind of lit up a little bit the moment you brought up the movie theater incident, and we know that she is an activist and she's looking for something to really get involved in. Even when Rose tells her there is a nice place, some strange things happen, but we're kind of see those strange things ain't necessarily racism here.
Yeah, for first question, I do believe that she knew who her husband was and therefore was getting information. Again, just getting connections, like how you get into the family. Well, I'm gonna talk to the wife. Let me, see, let me talk to the wife to get information. But with the second question, I think is also for a fact of she knew something was off even when she went down to, some of the stores down in Derry and just seeing how this environment, there's something off. I've seen, a culture of racism and everything, but that's, again, to your point, that's not what we see here. It's just completely different. And even though there might still be lingering residue of that, but it's not the main conflict, which I like how in terms of writing that it's easy to jump to that conclusion, but yet she's still like, no, something's off here, and I want to get understanding of what's about this town. My husband, we moved here because of him, so and then now I also have a child, and there's been an incident of missing children, or children being killed, so it's like I need to know, especially this is like the first week her son been to this new school.
Yeah, exactly. That was the other part of it with her. I'm not sure exactly what Charlotte's motives is here. Clearly it's to be involved into something. And I think Rose is the same thing, where Rose is just digging to find out more information. She's trying to find out what the general is holding from her.
Yes.
She knows at this point you're not doing this for no reason. And I think she knows part of the lore of everything is that you lose your memory when you leave the place, but everything comes back to you when you get there. So I think she's fearful on what is going to come back into his mind as he's looking to do something that she knows is nefarious. But next up, we get the black soldiers as we get to the spot that the general gave them. And of course, it's just a shack in the woods because,
it's not just any shack.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, it's not. First, starting with Dick telling them, well, let's clean up everything. And then you get the look on Dick's face to kind of let you know exactly what's going on here. So, Mike, because you already brought it up, what did you think about this whole scene and this whole setup for where the general put them at, which feels very purposeful that he put them there?
Yeah, it's purposeful. Again, we're in, it might be Derry, but again, you're in the woods and you black in there, you might as well call it the Klan's backyard, because they're just setting you up so they butter you up before they fry you, literally. And in this case, this location that they're finding is supposed to be just another safe haven from them, obviously from the incident that happened in episode 2. Yeah, I believe 2 or 3, where colored people
Where were
just
they at the bar? Yeah.
at the bar, and then they find, oh yeah, we can make this spot here, we can have a kitchen here and stuff, for soldiers and everything. But what if you're a book reader, that spot is literally called the Black Spot, and there's a huge incident that happens there, and I think we got glimpses of it in the trailer. But the fact that he already knew that something about this presence here was off, and whether he has intuition even from his deceased grandmother, that knowing that, hey, listen, just keep a lid on it, hey, because where you are right now is like something bad about to happen. So yeah, that's as much as I cannot give, blatantly give everything away. But yeah,
but what happens with the Black Spot, I want to say, happens before this. I think it happened in the first iteration of Pennywise, because remember, you're going back 27 years. So if you go back 27 years before this date, you get the story of the Black Spot, which was a black place with black people that Pennywise murdered everybody.
White supremacists went in there, but I guess you can be influenced by Pennywise, whatever.
He influenced all of them, so that's why I say he did it, because it was all through his influence of everything. That is actually brought up in the original It book also. That's what this is how they play with the lore of It through the series, just to bring up these type of things. So this is a very dope scene that they brought up here. But next up, we get William as he rushes home to get to the pictures, and this is where Charlotte tells him she found him, and William tells her everything. What I loved about this scene is at no point in time did it come across that she did not believe her son. And she just said, look, you're going to be careful. You're not going to be run out at night until I can figure out more what's going on here. So what did you think about this quick scene between William and his mom, and just the way Charlotte is with him? Because that's a running theme. Like she is his safe haven for every bit of information, especially stuff he can't tell his dad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, just a little bit in terms of like her wanting to be, first of all, as a mom, right? Speaking through Charlotte, as you think about the level protection of who she is, and as her character gets developed, you can tell she's a beast. You know what I mean? Like, she's not one to be played with, and so just even her level of protection, her want to be curious even about the situation that happened with the movie theater, is also about protecting her son, right? And protecting the kids that are now his friends. And so I wasn't surprised that he told her, but again, he's been living with mom predominantly because obviously dad has been, all around the world. And so you have to figure out where her level of trust in him and her level of trusting what he's telling her is how you build relationship and trust with your child, with anybody, right? So especially when you're talking about from mother to child, if the child does not feel like they can come to you with even the most outlandish things and you don't believe them, they're not coming back to tell you anything else. And so I love that, she is that safe space, and she asks questions, but she asks it in a way where it just breeds curiosity and not like unbelievableness. You know what I mean? Like that sort of situation. So yeah.
I think that's the best part of any scene you get with just Charlotte and William, is just how touching and loving that comes across. Like, in the end, she's gonna believe her son no matter what, because I think they have a relationship where she does not believe he's just gonna lie to her.
Right.
So that's what makes her believe everything. But next up, we get another family dinner table scene, because clearly it's not enough here. And it's always awkward between these three at the table here. But Charlotte quickly tells Will a lie for Will, I'm sorry, as Leroy asks him about school. And they look at each other, and she said, go ahead and tell him. And she said, it's a girl, knowing good and well that was not what it was that William was thinking about. But this is, again, her protecting him. But later on at that table, after William asks to be excused, she literally asks Leroy, what are you doing this weekend? Because you need to spend time with him. And then we transfer to them going fishing next. And during the fishing trip here, first we see William's absolutely bored. He does not want to be there at all. But then the moment he gets a bite on his reel, he becomes excited to be there with his dad. He loses the fish. The dad goes to get the new lure for his rod. And at that moment, we know something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But this is where it gets really interesting here, as William sees a clownfish float by. And as the clownfish is floating by, a hand comes up, grabs him, pulls him down in this little lake. And he ends up seeing his father holding him down, all burnt up and everything. As Leroy comes back to rescue Will, pull him up, ask him what's going on. He looks at Will's arms and see scratches and marks like some kind of animal had been attacking him. And then he looks up and they both see a red balloon floating by. So, Maya, I'm going to ask you, what did you just think about this whole setup of this scene between the beginning of it with Leroy and Will as they're just trying to bond with one another to the attack from Pennywise?
I mean, well, again, it's twofold, right? Charlotte should not have to remind him and or ask him and or push him to go and spend time with his son, right? That's something that he should just be doing. Like you've been away for a while, you're now settled in the same place. You should make some time for your child. But I think that you could tell the uneasy, the awkwardness. It's almost like being around a stranger because you haven't been around each other enough to like build that comfortability. And so Will is pretty much just like, how long do I have to do? And I get it too as a child, right? Like I don't want to do something that I'm not interested in, and so we get that part, but like you said, we get him excited because now he's caught a fish and this and the third. I instantly knew, I'm like, all right, this guy is going back to the car. Yeah, something is going down. First of all, why you leave your fishing box in the trunk is beyond me. Put it next to the lake, like most
I was confused by that also.
I don't understand, because even from the point of you getting to the edge of the lake would have still been enough time for something to happen. But for me, it would have been more believable. I didn't like that transition part. But I'm happy that they were both able to see the balloon, right? Because it goes back to like, what can adults see and what can't they see? So now that they're both able to see the balloon, he knows like, yo, my son is not tripping. Something weird is going on. I really do like the fact that Will said something here is evil or weird in Derry, and so even just that in itself should be giving him more of an inclination to be like, all right, yeah, something is trippy, this gig that I'm on, this mission that I'm on, like what does that entail and how does it play into all of the things that are actually happening outside of that? So yeah.
Exactly. And Mike, I'm asking you, what did you just think about, again, Amaya brought it up, Leroy being able to see that balloon is huge because adults don't see stuff in this universe at all. Yeah. But not only he can clearly see it, he clearly knows it's a problem because he sees all these scars on William as he pulled them, not even out of a real lake. Literally, if he stood up, he'd have been fine. So I think that's what scared him more than anything. Just what did you think about that part of this setup? And what does this mean for the character of Leroy moving forward?
Well, one, I like the fact that it just bridged the gap between parent and child. Like, because we've seen so many other families where, I mean, what do you want to call it? With the white girl keeping, threatening to go back to the asylum, and or you also have to.
I'm gonna stop calling her just a little white girl. Lily is her name. You and my forgotten this little girl's name multiple times.
I called her a little killer. You feel me?
Exactly. You done called her a little killer. But, Mike, like this little crazy white girl is going.
Well, I mean, just like she had the freaking thing, it was white on white violence in that room. But anyway, apparently that's a myth. But I and then even when you saw the conversation with the Jewish family, about like, trust your tradition, everything like that, and then the other, even the older brothers, like, dude, what are you talking about? And so finally we seen this black family where it's like, no. Wait, I'm actually paying attention to what's going on with my child, exactly. For once, And it's really nice to see that even from a father to a son, and in fact the son is having scars on him, and then they're both seeing that. I mean, they're both aware, and it wasn't the first time in this episode that he saw the balloon again. It just, and there's something, whether you want to talk about him as a person, that there, I don't want to say that something's off, it's just something is different, or he doesn't know, he's not fearful, or there's a part of his brain that's not triggered by said things, so that allow him to see certain things that most people wouldn't see with the naked eye.
Yeah.
But now, one thing I will say was stupid, just in general, just like you leaving away in shallow waters, and your child's in the middle of water, water and everything, and it's like, listen, we already seen, how many black children, people like die from drowning, and it wasn't even the fact that the water's not even that high. It just, it's, come on now. But
it's that panic, when the panic strikes you, it doesn't matter how much water you're in, you're going to automatically think you're drowning. It's why little kids at little parks who can stand up on their own, they will drown in a heartbeat, or at least go through the emotions of drowning, because they never think, just stand up.
Yeah.
And
especially here with Will, because he's being pulled down. So it's not necessarily this, and I think that's what caught Leroy's attention more than anything, is that not only was Will struggling, it was how he was struggling. He was struggling like his arms was wailing. Like, wait a minute, you're gonna stand up and none of this will be happening. But how did you even get to the point of being in the water like that? I think that was more telling to Leroy than anything else about Will.
And I like the fact that they didn't gloss over, like, it could be simple, like, I've been fishing with my dad before, and then you get like a catch, and then it's like it literally pulls you, or you just lose the rod because you just didn't have a strong grip to it. But then it's like, don't glaze over, like, why you fell over? No, it's like there's marks here, So I like the fact that they bridge that gap. Now it just needs to be a conversation between husband and wife about what the hell's going on.
Well, and I will say that they're making sure that Leroy is a part of the story, and not just a part of the story based on just what his job is to do for the military. Like, as a father, they're like pulling them together, and I like that, because I think if it wasn't for the balloon and the marks, it might have gone the other way, which was like, how did you get there? Like, how couldn't you just stand up? But because that's not a thing, it's bridging the gap. So I like that.
I just want to know, and Mike, you can answer this one. Of what we've seen so far of Leroy, is it giving you a clearer picture of the way he is in the It series, as the grandfather to Mike versus the father to William?
There's definitely a shift, but I think it's because, like, I was too soft with my son, and I need to be extremely more hard with my grandson, not because of I don't think he's strong enough or anything, not because I don't love him. No. It's because I lost one son, and I'm, I don't want to lose my grandson for me being off my square hard enough. So
that could definitely be it. Next up, we get Charlotte as she heads to the police station, and she reports what Will told her to the police chief. And then she asks if it is someone else out here chasing around kids. Could it be that you have an innocent man in jail? And this is where a big part of this needs to be said to help quell Michael from calling all of them racist. He lets her know, oh no, he's had a lawyer, he's had everything. This isn't the South. We don't do business like that here. Basically let you understand, like, in a different part of the country, we may be a little racist, but we're not like super racist here. Like, we'll give you enough due process instead of just giving you an all-white jury to hang you here. But this here just sets in motion exactly who Charlotte is and the lengths she's willing to go to help protect people, down to asking the chief, can she talk to Hank? He says, you're not family, you're not his attorney. Absolutely not. Mike, what do you think about this first scene with Charlotte at the police station, and just how that conversation goes between her and the chief?
Well, one, I think this also sparks the generational rift between Hanlons and the Bowers. Because that's Mike's grandmother, and that is Bowers' grandfather, who's police chief.
The little butthole kid from the original It that beat up everybody.
Yes. So they know it's just kind of ironic, but we've been fighting generationally. Who could say that? you know, but
Hey, hold up, though. Let me quickly say this. This also kind of explains why Mike was the only one that wasn't really afraid of him.
yeah,
It was the other
yes.
kids that was really, really afraid of him. Mike was not.
Mhm.
And now we kind of see why now.
It was
But go ahead.
grandmother's speaking. It was a grandmother's spirit that pushed him down that well. Yes.
Even more
Um,
questions about the way that they're going to set that up. Go ahead, though.
yeah. Uh, Again, also having that interaction, even like when he talked to, I believe I forgot the little girl's father that's locked up, but
Hank.
that he had conversation like, oh no, I spoke with the district and everything, but it didn't advise me on said thing. It's like no. It's like we can go through a legal process, but we're not gonna give you all the information to utilize, the ways of knowing what your rights are. And which is stereotypical, like, no, we're not no racist town, we're not no racist police station, but no, I'm having a conversation with you, like, oh, you didn't share this with me, you didn't share I could do this to protect my rights. No, you just use intimidation for me to admit something that I didn't do. Again, we've seen this, Central Park 5, etc., all this stuff, so all these things.
You see, audience, why I asked Mike that question? I knew exactly where he was going to go with it. Granted,
yes,
I never thought he would bring up the Central Park 5. That caught me a little off guard, but I knew where he was going to go with it at. But here you go. I'll ask this question, though, especially because Derry breeds over into so much other content. We kind of seen them do this to Derry with white people also. Is it that the police just likes railroading people? Like, could it be not necessarily a race thing, but it's in a town where railroading people is something they enjoy doing? Like, it just makes it easier for them.
Yes, and which is why, like, again, like, I like the fact, even in conversation, again, this is even in the North, it's the way they do racism here, which I think that is, it's like a sight to see, because again, you can go so reckless with the actual, idea of racism, and because it's time period, and just go heavy handed, like, yes, we get it, yes, we see it. And HBO, have you seen their history? Lovecraft Country, Watchmen, like they gone far, deep with it, but it's the way you strategically use it to a point. Yeah, it might be there, but that's no, there's a bigger fear or a bigger factor that's making the impact of a certain scene more powerful because of the actual plot that's serving the actual setting that they're in, not because it's of the time period, but just of this particular town, because this town itself is a character. So this, like, I like the fact that, like, they, even in terms of the police department, you're seeing kids getting beat up and stuff, like, no, nonchalantness and everything because of the entity of the presence of Pennywise and what this town does to you over time when you conform to this entity. So yeah,
I mean, not only that, I mean, it's Derry. I mean, if you know anything about Stephen King, Derry's everywhere, and everything happens in Derry. But here, I want to now focus on the remainder of Charlotte's storyline in this episode. So first up, she goes to visit Hank's mom, and this is here where they just talk about everything. And again, she asks the same question as we see Hank mom is kind of wavered on him. She quickly says, Hank wouldn't bother a fly. But the problem is, I thought he was asleep, and he wasn't. And this is her letting Charlotte know someone saw him out. And Charlotte did questions, where was he at then? And the mom says, only person who knows where he at, it was him and God. But this leads to Charlotte getting a letter from Hank's mom as she takes this, which I didn't even know this. I'm pretty sure this is not realistic at all. And
absolutely not.
Sure
Absolutely
we just
not.
can't get a letter say, hey, his mom gave me permission to see him. he is not in detention. She gets the letter from his mom, and she takes the letter to the police station saying that I can now talk to Hank. And we see now this is just a regular police officer who doesn't want to let her in, and then Charlotte lets him know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to call every MK down here. MLK, RFK, RF, LBJ, and Lakers in 5. I'm calling all of them down here. And then I'm going to have the Freedom Riders come down here, and we'll see if you'll let me see him. The cop bends. He lets Charlotte see Hank. And this is where we find out first that They did not follow any due process laws with Hank. They did not let him know a lot of stuff. She lets him know, I can get you out because they violated your due process, but it won't be before they move you to Shawshank. But she lets him know, here, you're going to have to tell where you were. Do you not understand that you can leave your daughter without a father and leave your mother wondering what happened if you don't share this information? And this is where Hank lets her know. It's not just that he went to go see a white woman. He's messing with a married white woman, which, if I'm not mistaken, kind of eliminates Lily's mom.
Yes, it
because
does.
Lily's father's not around. So there's
Right.
no telling what white woman Hank is messing with here. But Amaya, what did you think about this conversation between Charlotte and Hank? Him revealing that he's not just with a married woman, he's with a married white woman, and his fear of exactly what's going to happen to him, especially from what her husband will do to him.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of called it, right? We were trying to figure out what are the reasons as to why he would confess. What are the reasons as to why he would even put himself, in this situation in terms of like just not saying who can exonerate him, essentially, right? Not surprised one bit, and I think it's stupid. Like in plain terms, I think it's stupid. You're in a town where even if it's a slither of racism, the racism exists, right? You have a child to care for, and you put your child at risk of not having a parent because you chose to be irresponsible and you chose to follow your lust, and so I'm almost inclined to say, well, what they tell us when we're growing up, you make your bed, you gotta lie in it situation.
Lie in it. Yep.
So that's what this is. I think it's unfortunate that Ronnie is going around so hard trying to find a way to get her dad free, to prove that he wasn't this murderer. But in the midst of that, there are other things that could absolutely blow up in their face, and so super, super heartbreaking for us to be like, all right, this is what it is. But I'm not surprised at Charlotte one bit because this is who she is, and she's not judgmental. She's just like, all right, like I we see her kind of react, but she's kind of just trying to. I think the wheels are turning in her head. She knows it's a place that obviously something weird is going on here. You're not a murderer, you know what I mean? So is there anything that can be done?
Exactly. I would have been in that police station like Samuel Jackson on The Time to Kill, and I'd have been yelling, yes, I slept with her, and I hope she burns in hell. Like, you will not put me in jail. You will not keep me in jail for murder. Murdering, here's the problem, though. He has to pick between murdering white children or sleeping with a white woman. I'm sorry, I slept with that white woman. Ain't no way you gonna say I murdered white children. Because then there's a special place. That's why he's terrified to go to Shawshank.
Yeah.
He goes to Shawshank and they find out that he murdered white kids. He almost punches his own ticket.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if I just sleep with her, then I just got to worry about her husband being mad at me. Okay.
Or the
I can survive one man.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I can survive 3 white men. I can't survive 80 of them attempting to kill me in a prison.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's just going to have to come of Hank weighing his odds of which one is actually smarter to do. But going back to the beginning of this going back to the end of this with Charlotte, as the next conversation is between her and Leroy. As he asks her, what were you doing in town, going to the police station? Because Paulie saw you going in here. And here is just, again, the same issue between Leroy and Charlotte. He understands who she is, but it's very clear, as he says, I can't have you getting arrested again.
Right.
Also telling her, you need to stop looking for trouble, and her having to point out to him, you don't have to look for trouble. It's always going to be here with us.
Yeah.
But here in this back and forth confrontation between these two, we get to really see the different dynamics between them two. And kind of their belief systems don't align with one another. As Charlotte also brings up to Leroy, like, you want about what I'm doing in town when you can never tell me what you do at your job.
Right.
It's Maya, just what do you think about the way this relationship is playing out between them two?
It's playing out how I would have expected it to at that time, right? And I think that it's interesting because Leroy know, like it goes back to like who you married, right? And like she said, you don't have to go looking for anything. We're Black. Trouble is always around, and it's gonna find us even if we don't find it or go looking for it. And I think calling it trouble is bothersome to me. I don't like the language that he uses in term, but again, not surprised because that's how it's phrased back then. But calling it trouble, knowing that she's willing to step out on a limb to save people who in this moment can't save themselves. I think that's it's kind of crazy, but also I love the jab back that she did, which was that country that you swore an oath to protect and that you're currently so for me, I'm not surprised at all. I think that he's which is crazy because after the fishing incident, right after trying to figure out what's happening in Derry, talking to Shawshank dude, right, and just the conversations that he's having, to me it would almost be like it would almost be like what you're doing at work is probably exacerbating the situation that's happening in the town. It's like again, he's not stopping to ask himself, what is it that we're really doing? What is it that we're really looking for? He's asking the questions, but it's not processing the same, if that makes sense. It's not like he's not linking anything together. And so I don't see Charlotte stopping, that's for sure. Because she's a strong-headed woman. And I think that she wants to make a difference in whatever problems that causes. Like she's like, whatever, we'll deal with it when it happens.
Exactly. I think that's her key point is I'm Black and I'm proud and I'm not gonna change that for anything. And if I can help someone who looks like me, as she clearly points out, a Black man being railroaded. If I can help somebody, especially his daughter is friends with our son.
Right.
As we saw earlier on in the dinner table conversation, where Leroy was nervous and said, because the girl is and Charlotte starts laughing. You really wanted to ask, is the girl white or Black? Yeah. So you acknowledge race is an issue, but here you don't want me sticking up for our own people because you want to be nice to Mr. Charlie. You can't have it both ways, is basically what she lets him know here. But we're gonna go back a little bit and go back to the scene of Leroy when he arrives at the place that we know to be the Black spot. And here is him asking Dick about what they're looking up as he brings up to Dick and lets him know that William was attacked while they were at the lake. And he lets him know everything. And we see he is very desperate here for a direct answer from Dick, who tells him, I don't know what we're looking for. I can't give you an answer. Mike, what did you think about this whole setup between them two? Again, this plays off of the last scene we've seen with them two on the front porch, where he had already had a conversation with Dick about him getting in his mind and getting to his head. And now him possibly feeling like you're not telling me the whole truth and my child may be in danger.
Yeah, I think it's just like, come on, I know something's off here and something's here. And you're getting the special access from the general, and I just got here, and I'm not being told full answers, and so please answer my direct question: what's going on here? And have a heart-to-heart conversation, even outside the Black spot and everything. It just again, it's just atmosphere and all of it. It just as a reader, I'm just like, oh God, but and I can't even say I hope for a happy ending because it really isn't. And so just like at least get some revelations for him to do what he needs to do just to do the best he can to protect his family. And because we know like again these characters survive, but it's just the situations like who's gonna be the collateral damage, or cannon fodder around them, even the handlings of the wife, Charlotte, like that spirit can be in your child, but like, hey, are you here the whole time for you to have grandchildren? Because we just saw him. He could be angry because I'm also a widow. Like I'm not just mourning the loss of a son, I'm mourning the loss of a wife as well. We don't know. But just like, and that's why when issue came up to him, by his grandson, it just reminded me also of his wife. Like, listen, you went up stupid and look where it got you. It's like, nope, I'm not letting you.
We get to see how this plays out in a long game with Leroy more than anything else. Like, again, they're pinpointing certain things to let you understand exactly why this character acts the way they do in the future. But also, we got to remember, whatever this entity is, it's here at this time period, and technically then it disappears again until Mike is a kid. So, like, exactly how does that play out with Leroy and what he possibly remembers? What doesn't he possibly remember? But here he just knows something's not right. I don't know what we're looking up, and whatever we're looking up is putting my son in danger, and that's what he's terrified the most about. But next up, we get the kids as William tells them everything that happens at the lake. And this is him wondering, why didn't he kill me? And then William brings up, he can kill any of us at any given time. Why isn't he doing it? And then he comes up with, I think I know what it is, which I'm just going to ask. I don't know how he jumped to this conclusion this way, but you know what? Smart kids. But he says, maybe it's feeding off of our fear, which I'd have never thought in a million years. And he brings up, it's like what endorphins that come out of fear, and he's feeding off of it until he can eat us. As we see the other kids looking like, why would you say he can do any of this here? But this is where Lily comes up with a plan to help them with their fear. As in the following scene, we see Lily as she comes out and gives all the kids some dochi pills. And if you wonder why I call them dochi pills, because anxiety. But she gives them a bunch of dochi pills and says, my mom says once she takes one of these, she does not fear anything, and she's nice and relaxed. So, Mike, I'm going to ask you first, what do you think about Will giving a revelation to the kids that Pennywise is feeding off of their fear before he possibly eats them as the end game? And then Lily coming up with possibly anxiety pills to give the kids to help them cope with their fear, so he's no longer able to feed off of them.
Well, one, for handling the kid to understand what was going on quickly. I just leave plot armor for that. You being you being a know-it-all, all that stuff like that. Find information that runs in the family.
Smartest kid in the room.
Yeah, smartest kid in the room. So I just leave it that to his last name. But to the whole thing with the pills and stuff, I thought that was so stupid. Especially having that broad daylight outside of the lockers. I'm just like, come on. I know y'all don't have cameras, but I'm just like, you already looked crazy, and now you got freaking pills, outside your lockers. You got two black kids, short kid, and and a crazy white girl.
I'll be forgetting Mike. So me and Amaya are going to help you out here, Mike. Okay, because I know you don't recall this because you're 22, but
I'm 27.
22, 27, same thing. But when we were children here, you know what adults cared that we took at school? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They let us eat lead pencils. I don't think they'd have paid any point of attention to them kids taking pills. They'd have not paid it any attention. Like, especially with them being in the 60s, oh man, they could care less. Like, as long as they weren't smoking doobies, they're perfectly fine. They were worried about something completely harmless, and they would give kids anything they wanted. Again, kids were eating lead pencils then. We didn't find out until years later how dangerous it was to eat lead pencils. So the setup with the pills, the only issue I had with it is we kind of know what it is now, that these are in some form of an anxiety pill, but how does that help with fear? It's my whole thing there. I didn't fully grasp the full meaning of understanding that. Yeah, that's what I would be thinking here. Like, it would possibly make it worse for someone who's never taken one before.
So I thought that caterpillar eyes were just high. That's what I thought.
So, again, that's what I'll say about the pills portion of it, about them coming up with that plan with the pills. But what do you think about just the kids in general attempting, after they kind of figured out this is what he is and this is what this thing is attempting to do to us, that they became very proactive immediately to try to come up with a solution that this thing can no longer feed off of them?
They're just trying to explore all their options because at this point, all of them is running out. That's literally what it is. And your children, it's like I can't get frustrated because like you're making a decision that child would do. Maybe we could just not be scared. Let's just take this pill. This is like don't step. Let's not step on the crack because we don't want to break our mom's back. Like
I saw an Instagram video of a black girl very mad at her mom, and she stepped on every crack she could, and her mom was busting out laughing.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and then the pill to go into the toilet, and then she go and grab it like not like that stuff already dissolved.
Yeah, we'll get there because that was disgusting, but that is a whole different plot point there. But next up, we'll get to what I feel is one of the most important scenes of this episode, and it's very short. As we get Army Officer Fuller comes in and tells the general, we've checked every place that the Indian lady told us not to look, and we still have not found what this thing is here. But here, this is where the general says we need to hurry up because the cycle of it is coming to an end soon. So this is him acknowledging he understands not only that this thing is existing at this time period, but he also understands there's a time frame that this thing is going to go away and we're not going to be able to use it again. But in the midst of him coming up or stating this fact, he also looks at the surveillance photos and asks about the Indian kids at the gate and said, how often are they there? And the guy tells him every couple of days they're there, but they know better than to cross the line and come in. And he then tells him, let them come in. Amaya, what do you think about that? Because that's very big. Is it something that possibly the general is remembering, that kids are the driving force behind this thing, that he wanted younger people in there to see if that, or is it that he understands that they as natives would know the history of this thing and possibly they can arrest one of them immediately and get the information they need?
Yeah, absolutely. The second option. He knows that they know more because unlike most Americans, right, or like Americans, period, other countries and other communities have actual pass downs, right? So they are taught certain things from generation to generation. And I think that he knew that even if he couldn't get answers verbally, right, that he would be able to use Dick and get answers him in that way. And I thought it was very interesting. But I kind of knew where it was going to take us because, again, the tradition of passing down stories and legacies and traditions and things like that are just so potent that it just almost made sense that he was going to be the one, right? They could have gotten anybody else who was random. It wouldn't have had the same impact. So I wasn't surprised at all that this was the choice that they decided to make.
And then next up, we get the most gruesome setup and scene of the episode. At first, we get Marge as she goes over to befriend Lily again. And here we get two popular boys come by to speak to both of them. And Marge tells Lily it's time to shoot your shot. And Lily decides to go freshen up first. And then the other girls come over and we see it as a full setup to attempt to embarrass Lily. And then they send Marge to the bathroom to tell her, hey, get her so she doesn't change her mind. In the bathroom, we get the attack on Marge from Pennywise as her eyes started to hurt before they completely bulge out of her head. As Lily comes out, she sees Marge this way. She attempts to take the pill, drops the pill in the toilet, and then attempts to go in the toilet to save the pill so she can take it. But at the same time, Marge busts out the bathroom and she goes to the wood shop class to try to alleviate her pain by first using what looked like I thought it was not the not the saw portion of it. I don't a nail
It
or
looks
some
like a
a
flat.
chisel.
Yeah,
It looked like a
chisel.
chisel.
A
He
chisel.
first tries to chisel her eyes off of the bulge, and when that does not work, she goes to the electric saw and attempts to cut it out so the pain would end. As she's doing it, Lily busts in the room, attempts to save her, but as she attempts to save her, she ends up grabbing a chisel as Marge again tries to stab her eye with a chisel. Lily takes it away from her. Next thing you know, all the kids buzz in the classroom, and Lily's covered in blood. Marge is in the ground, missing an eye, and all of them think Lily did it. Mike,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you here. I know this was predictable, but what did you just like about the way this attack went on Marge from Pennywise? Because this is him branching out, kind of, and not attacking the kids like he normally would do, but in a kind of roundabout way, he understands it's going to affect one of the kids he's going after.
I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened because, go ahead.
Let's talk through this.
Because for her, okay, now I always had, I already thought she was the ops, but I'm trying to understand what the secret she was trying to tell her, aside from like, oh yeah, I'm just a bad friend. They told me to do it.
Yeah,
or
that's it.
Okay.
That's what she was about to tell her. Yeah.
Okay, but on top of that, I don't know how I'm going to say this in a nice way. Throughout the entire the first few episodes, there's been something very off about her in terms of she looked very animated and or cartoonish, whatever. But even there was a moment where there was yellow eyes as the little kid was looking at her and flirting with her, whatever, as she walked past, and then you saw the yellow eyes there. But people think, that's just her, just being looking like a someone like a crush, whatever. But no, yeah. That's all Pennywise eyes. And I thought we see him imitate people and projections before, because he did that in It Chapter 2 with the Bob Gray character's daughter, who played the who was the older lady talking to Barb? Not Barb. Yeah. It's in the in It Chapter 2 when she the naked old white woman that was chasing Jessica Chastain in part 2. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that scene, he's done imitated people before, so I thought, oh yeah, he's just doing this as a best friend, whatever, just do something and just butter up this girl. Oh, she's already the crazy one. I know she's just walking in fear. She's gonna taste delicious. Yeah. So I just thought that, and then for her eye to physically pop out like that, I was just like, okay, we've seen stuff happen onto people, but it's but on the person themselves, unless it's you're watching an hallucination, that was actually real. So what is it about her that he's literally popping this girl's eye out and stuff? I was just kind of confused. I'm I thought
is
she
it
was
that you're wondering why he's attacking Marge and not attacking Lily?
Yes.
Well, we've had issues before where Pennywise has attacked other people to get to someone else. Because remember, if he can see a lot of stuff and he's thinking you're attempting to take pills to get rid of me, I don't have to scare you to get the fear out of you.
You're already scared.
And at this rate, I can scare you because of what's happening to her. I'll get the fear out of you, and then I'll get it out of her also. So with Pennywise, one thing about him, especially in this setting that we get in with this town here, he doesn't have to attack one kid. He just has to attack anything. We're accustomed to seeing so many kids floating around Pennywise. And I think at times we tend to focus only on the main kid characters to think that those are his only victims. No, he's willing to go after anybody. And here it was just a perfect setup where 2 for 1. I can get both of you. I can get the one who already fears me, and then I can create a different fear out of someone else.
Right.
So maybe that helps explain exactly why he would attack her in that setting here.
I thought that the other kids were noticing something odd and we're going to like go into the bathroom or go
Yes.
over to tell her like, hey, something seems weird. Maybe it's not a good idea to do whatever it is that she's telling you to do. But the setup on this in terms of like going after Marge was very it was definitely an interesting choice, but not something that I was surprised that happened. But I do think that now that Lily is again back at the forefront of being crazy, that takes away from the party of 4 and now makes it a party of 3. And also that means that she's separated from the group, which means it's also easier to get to her now if she does end up having to go back to Juniper Hill.
And that's the key part here. He set her up to have to go back there. So now that she's separate, what happens to Lily moving forward here? So again, that's possibly part of his big plan and his big setup for her moving forward. But next up, we get, and this is a couple scenes down because we already talked about the scenes with Leroy and how we set him up throughout it. But next up, we get William, and we get him in his bed. Here, he has a quick little reliving of what happened to him at the lake, what causes him to pop up in the middle of the night, and he decides to go over to his telescope and just look out of it as a way to calm himself down. This is a play on part 1, on episode 1, where the mom said that's why he likes to have a telescope. It helps calm him. But here, as he's looking at a neighbor walking his dog, he quickly pans the telescope down and he sees a clown by the tree staring directly at him, and he panics, breaks down, starts screaming. Leroy busts in the room and he tells Leroy, it's someone out there staring at me. And this leads next Charlotte to come in the room, and Leroy immediately blames her for it, saying, this is what I told you would happen. Now we have people staring at him. And he breaks out, goes outside, screams at everybody, wondering who's there. And then he turns around and happens to see that red balloon again in the tree outside of his son's window. So, Mike, I'm gonna ask you here again, the way they're playing this character of Leroy here and his paranoia and the way it's going to play off here. What did you think about this initial setup before we get to the thing with him in the general of him panicking, blaming his wife for everything until he sees that balloon again?
I think he just very, like, one, Pennywise is just attracted to that entire family. Because, like, okay, now it's not just a child here, like, and the dad trying to find me too, and the guy that I just found at my sewer, he showed up here, for, so I'm like, what's going on here? Let me show, let me make a visit. And again, it's like it also creates that division even within the family too, just marital problems. Is like, okay, well, hey, you put this idea, of just jumping out and here and putting our family in danger and stuff. And now here I am, the husband, I gotta go clean this up, whatever, thinking that somebody trying to scare our son, while we're already walking in fear. We're Black in America. Like, it's like, so, and on top of that, that's what we left the South for. On top of that, you've been arrested before. Now you asked us again. Now we got a child. It's like, come on, we just been here for a week, So again, it's causing rift and, but even though that said thing wasn't caused by Charlotte, it just that argument they have or in discussion prior that because of that situation heightens it. Again, you just marital problems. You just gotta, pay attention to that. So yeah, it's I thought that was good. And then even the child just having, again, it's just metaphorically, you seeing them having a nightmare and whatever, what that does to a parent when they come to check in what's going on. But and then him stepping outside now looking crazy from all of his white neighbors.
It's that this is just him being overly paranoid. Something's happened to William already, and now he's overreacting to it. But all his overreaction goes away when he sees that red balloon again. Because why the hell would a red balloon be there? Unless it's out of some type of something's happening here that I can't explain, which leads to the next thing and the final scenes of the episode as Leroy busts into the general's office to ask the general, what do you have us chasing? This is him kind of acknowledging something is coming after me. Something's coming after my son. And it has to do with whatever you all are attempting to get us to locate. And here we get the general as he decides to show Leroy more of what's going on here as he takes him into the interrogation room with one of the native kids who they've arrested, and they bring in Dick so Dick can break this kid. Now, it's a lot that happens in this scene here, from Dick using his powers to get into this kid's mind, which transports this kid back to childhood as he has multiple doors in his mind that Dick goes through. One of them leads him to his childhood, and this is Rose meeting with this kid who is her nephew as she asks him the lore of why they cannot go into the woods. I can't remember the name they gave this thing. It was very much so a Lovecraftian name.
Yeah, it was
That
like
the Indians,
Googaloo.
yeah, something like that, that they gave what we know to be Pennywise as what this thing was. But then we get the backstory of it before the time of man, it coming down, crashing down to Earth, and then when humans came into the picture, natives, they broke what was containing him. But the natives still did what they could until the settlers showed up, because white people, when they show up, everything goes to shit.
Manifest destiny, all that stuff.
Exactly. But this also leads to the story of how the natives trapped him. First, from using a shard from the star that brought him to Earth as a knife to attempt to contain him. But the settlers, because of their fear, made him too strong for that knife to work. And then we get the story of how they contained him down to the 13 pillars as they used the shards around him to contain him into that section of the forest where he could not get away from. And at the end of the story, as Rose is about to clap that her nephew remembers the lore and everything, because that's highly important to their culture, that's when Dick stops him and says, now I need to know where these pillars are. And then we see this kid grow from a kid to back to his more adult self at this point. And he opens the door to his mind. He points out of it and tells him, it's here. And that here is the house that we know for Pennywise from the It series. So I'm going to start with you first, Amaya. Just what did you think about the whole setup from Leroy busting to the general's office, him seeing everything, to the interrogation done by Dick here, and him really not wanting to do it and letting him know, if I do this, it's going to hurt you a lot. And then the big reveal of the backstory of Pennywise, and now we get to see the house of Pennywise here.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not surprised, right? But one of my biggest questions as we continue this series, I'm just thinking, I'm like, both Leroy and Dick are very uncomfortable. There is a level of fear that exists with the both of them, because they know that the more they keep following, the closer they get, the more they're put in danger. And for Leroy, he's putting his family and his son in danger. So what I'm trying to figure out is, knowing that these things are protecting, so to speak, the land that they currently are on, the Derry to a certain degree. Why would he want to go through the door? Why would he need to know where the pillars are? Why would he even, And so I'm wondering, my question, because this obviously is the end of the episode, I'm wondering, will I want to say his name is Talion, will he go back and talk to his aunt Rose and tell what happened? Will they let him go? There's so many different questions that are coming with the ending of this episode. And what will Dick do in terms of, this newfound information? Does he share it with Leroy? Does he actually tell the general? Like, what are the things that are happening? I think it's very interesting, just in the way that they chose to give the backstory of Pennywise, and then to end up at the house is just a very it's very intentional, for sure, especially to the viewers and for those who are familiar, even if they just watched the movies and not read the books. But there's the familiarity of that house, so very interesting to say the least. But definitely liking how they're bridging everything together. But yeah, I have a lot of questions in terms of what happens next, for sure.
Exactly. And Mike, what are your thoughts? And I'm throw a little bit of a twist here because I know you know the lore a little bit more here. Even pulling up that the nephew points at the house of Pennywise as the location of the pillars, that also means that technically he's around this entire town. Because the military is digging in a spot, digging this in the woods somewhere. It can't be. Because that house is not in the woods. That house is in the city. So then that means that the settlers came in, built around where they entrapped Pennywise at. So what do you think about that also being revealed in this episode?
I think what they did, again, they'll reveal it in probably future episodes, but they that entire perimeter is Derry,
Derry,
and
yep.
all it is just like you just seen the land before they went in and make a city out of it, and stuff, which I thought. By the way, shout out to the one of the Indian girls that she plays Katara in the live action Airbender show on Netflix. But I thought she did good here. But she played the woman's daughter who died, who got stabbed. But that was I thought that was nice. Like, it was also visually great to show that this entire tribe was was on it, trying to trap this entire entity and everything. And then just seeing like, wait, if Pennywise is so powerful, like, why can't you just leave and go to like San Francisco or or somewhere else?
Exactly.
Like, so those things where it's like you trap him with his own devices and stuff. Again, still mystery. Like the fact they went into there and take the actual shards and metal. I thought we were watching freaking Game of Thrones. I thought this was dragon glass or something. And they actually used it. They used the same props from it. From the Game of Thrones finale. They just used it on this show.
I only know the Ice King from Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Yeah, but they used it to cut costs. I'm just saying, because it's the same. It looks like it's the same material. But I thought
that wasn't the kryptonite used from BVS. Looks the same.
No, you just tripping. No, AT&T paid for that. But with this entire scene of him, I think they were also going to go into the sewer system too, because that's a whole nother element too. So with that, this entire season, because this show is so good that we're gonna get 3 seasons easily. What I'm saying is that if they just have this season just to explore the landscape of giving you this town of Derry, and then as we turning the clock back to when he first landed, because basically it's like you're kind of giving us, if this was season 3, if season 3 both take place in 1908, like how much are you giving us this season to actually have enough material to make a whole season of 1908 when we already know and see flashback?
At that point with 1908, all we would know is about the settlers. What changed with them? Like, yes. What changed? What set up the perimeter that we know now to be Derry to contain Pennywise? Because again, that has always been a question with Pennywise: is why can't he leave Derry? Like, right. It's exploring the reasons why he can't leave Derry, because he's going back into his past to show that, hey, these people native to this land entrapped him in a forest that was torn down, and you built a city on top of the forest. It also plays into the part of the natives of their burial grounds, which we know a lot of cities are built upon, and how those spirits transfer and how those things can change. So it's a nice play on exactly the myth of Pennywise, but also going into the culture of the native people and the things that they did to protect the land that they were at and on, and how settlers came in and changed a lot of that. But ladies and gentlemen, what are your final thoughts on Welcome to Derry episode 4?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited and definitely ready for what's next to come. I like that they're showing more in terms of the Native American and that portion of what it means for them to be in Derry, and their role in this, because it's basically the Pennywise is contained because of them, and that's probably kept him from doing more havoc, even though the havoc that he wreaks already is still just quite existential. But I'm excited to see Dick and Leroy's relationship. Like, what is that going to look like? How is Charlotte going to, do what she's passionate about, but not in a way that I guess quote unquote stirs the pot. And then what happens to Lily and what's going to go on with the kids in the next episode to come for sure, because that's big. Now she looks like now she looks violent, which we know she's not. But again, we said Pennywise will make separate them as best and by any means necessary in order to give them a different dose of fear. So
yeah. And Mike, what are your final thoughts on this episode?
I'm just eating this entire season up, honestly, because the last three were episode 3 and this episode definitely are become my favorites. I'm kind of debating now which one I like more than the other, but I'm just liking that we're moving the plot forward. This is how you do serialized television. It's like, again, we look at the runtime. There's been over consistently now. This is episode 4, either 59 minutes or probably hour or whatever. That's it. Like no 45-minute, no, including credits episode, and again, you give enough meat, but it's like, if you have the story and allow us to digest this and everything, this is what keep you as a returning viewer week by week. Again, we're in the age of streaming where we just want to binge the entire season and stuff like that. And then also with viewership, it's just like, okay, if people coming back for the following episode, and this we are, because you're giving us actual enough meat, but also teasing us a little bit more to be curious about what's coming next. So, yes, I mean everything up. Loving it.
Exactly. I think that's the key part for episode 4, is that this one digs deeper into the lore of Pennywise. At the same time, it's also giving you a history lesson of what it was like living in the North in the 60s and how it pertains to, while the racism wasn't as strenuous, as stressful as it was in the South, it still existed. And here we just get to not only see those elements, but we get to see the better development of the characters of Charlotte, the character of Leroy, which we've been waiting to see these characters develop more. We get it all here in episode 4. But this episode will drop right after Welcome to Derry becomes available on HBO. So like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think about the story of the kids here and how is this going to progress, especially pertaining to Lily after everything that happened with her and Marge. Let us know what you think about Charlotte, and will her passion lead her into a bigger problem? And finally, let us know what you think about Leroy and Dick Halloran, and how is this relationship going to be moving forward? We got a big reveal of a big place that we know has a lot of history tied into it. How is that going to play with them two moving forward? Again, this has been another Welcome to Derry recap review, brought to you by the Culture Collective, fueled by, powered by Big Go Belt Media. Peace, people.
Bye, y'all. I